And that tends to transfer up through.
If you stick it up on a big screen,
to that extent, we found that certain brands of shoes associated with
weight on my hands.
sandwich shoes, footy shoes.
Obviously, there is a lot of information on YouTube when it comes to bike fitting, and it's a resource you guys clearly use. These videos are often the most viewed on any creator's channel. So in this video, I'm going to give myself a bike fit using just the content on this platform. I'm going to ride it, I'm going to race it, and ultimately I want to be in a position to share with you a video or a sequence of videos that got me into a really reliable position on the bike. And we'll have some fun along the way. To do this, I set myself a few rules. I could only use YouTube videos. I wasn't allowed to measure my saddle height, and the whole fit had to be done at home using no special tools, just standard stuff I have around the house. Ideally trying to mimic as much as possible, just someone setting up their bike using YouTube at home. I was going to do the whole fit on a Mosaic titanium road bike that was lent to me by a bike shop here in Sydney. On top of this, I was pairing it with a different saddle, different shoes, and different pedals. So every contact point was different to my normal setup. So let's kick the whole thing off. Based, well, purely actually on the number of views, Cam Nichols's how to perform a simple bike fit at home seemed, well, the most relevant to what I was doing. The bike fitter Neil starts the fit out with the cleat fitting. The process was super simple and really well explained by Neil in the video. Look, to put it simply, it involved marking your joint line between your big toe and the rest of your foot. Marking that spot with something, translating it to a marking on the shoe, and then setting the center of the pedal axle approximately 15 mils for me behind that point. He's pretty clear in the video that that point does shift depending on the size of your foot, but it certainly gives a really clear reference point as to how to set this cleat up with your shoe. Cam's video was clear, concise, and super easy to follow, but I did want to go into a little bit more depth just with the direction of the cleat. And to do that, I used one of Francis Cade's videos. Francis's how to set up cleats video uses his bike fitter James, who basically highlights the need to center the cleats. He suggests using something to balance the cleats off. I used my stairs as a really easy way to do this, something you could do at home. So with those two videos, I was super confident that my cleats, the shoes, were roughly going to be in the right position. So the main game then is the saddle height. So what I did is I went for, well, basically the biggest video on YouTube. This video has had 2.5 million views. GCN's how to set up a road bike position. Simon's first method that he uses is the heel to pedal system, which is really quite well explained. But put simply, you jump on the bike with your cycling shoes on, you put your heel to the pedal, you want to then start pedaling and get to a point with your saddle position where you're not rocking dramatically side to side. Simon explains the procedure really, really well. He's very, very good at that. But the camera angle is really misleading because it's shot from a 45-degree angle and it's not set to the level of the bike. It's actually optically very hard to gauge what he is trying to explain. So when he's talking about pedaling without rocking side to side, it's hard to actually see to what level of angle his knee is at from the angle that the camera is shooting him at. That said, I was pretty confident that I had replicated Simon's knee bend, at which point I was to move to the saddle setback. And I wanted to change videos again. And to do that, I went to Cam Nichols's channel again, and one of his videos, which has had almost 1 million views, is your saddle too far back or forward? Jumping forward to the 7-minute 40 mark of the video, a balance test is demonstrated, which explained really quickly involves you riding at sort of roughly a threshold position, removing your hands from the bars and being able to balance yourself, ideally not falling too far forward or too far back. Once I sort of got myself into a position that I felt that I was able to ride relatively comfortably at that threshold position, I felt comfortable that the setback must have been pretty close. So how did this protocol work, you ask? Well, So this is not where I thought this vlog would go. So I've been riding the position for about 10 days now, and 3 days ago I started to notice that the right side of my body was feeling quite sort of locked down after rides. Got to a point where yesterday I was out on the bike, and after about an hour and a half, I kind of felt like the right side of my body was almost kind of going numb, like pins and needlesy, especially around my hip flexors. So anyway, look, I've come here just to a massage place here in Balmain and really feel where it is. As I said, it kind of feels like it's in my hip flexors. So I'm going to do that. Yeah, not ideal. I do want to mention at this point that during this sort of first phase, I suppose, of the bike fit, I actually went out and did some of my best powers across a range of times, which is something that is backed up in Dylan Johnson's video where he talks about saddle heights and the different positions and more of the scientific feedback from that. And staying in that video, that's kind of where I went from here. His conclusions were to suggest that the heel pedal system was the most accurate. But given I'd already tried that, I decided to try the Le Monde system that he talked about. So back on the trainer, back on YouTube, and back into the GCN channel. And I jumped onto how to find the perfect saddle height video from 2021. The video explains the process really simply, which essentially involves measuring your inseam and calculating your saddle height based on multiplying that inseam by 0.88. That was filmed by Kira. And Peggy. What it suggested was that I needed to bring my saddle down almost a centimetre, which I tried briefly. So this is the lowest I reckon my saddle's ever felt. It's really super noticeable. So at this point, I was so far down the rabbit hole that I was in a bit of pain and I really wasn't enjoying riding because every time I'd get on the bike, I was like, is this the right position? I'm not sure, or this hurts or that hurts. It was getting very, very frustrating. And I did jump back onto Dylan's video and watch that. And I have to say, it's a really good resource. It provides a lot of really good information. There's nothing actionable from an at-home bike fitter perspective to sort of, this is what I now needed to do. My last ditch saloon was a video from Kinetic Cycling, which suggested removing my shoes, which I suppose then removes any variables like different heel cups and all that kind of stuff, placing my heel on the pedal and being able to pedal without rocking my hips. The results of me doing this, the only way I could pedal without rocking with my shoes and socks off was to once again lower my saddle. And it was getting out of control. So I interrupt this semi-informative video just to remind you guys to please subscribe to the channel. These kind of videos do take a lot of time, effort, they involve favors from other people as well. So the best way to show your support is to like and subscribe to the videos. Carry on. The direction that I wanted this video to go, apart from having some fun, was really to give everyone some actionable videos to follow, and this is how you can kind of do a bike fit. And so I was really getting quite frustrated because not only was that sort of going out the door, but I was really not enjoying riding my bike at all. The next step was kind of obvious for me. I had to go back to the person who had fit me for many years now, Tom Petty here in Sydney at Embassy Cycling, and to basically get reset.
You did look like a child who had grown and not put their seat up for about 5 years. This column here, number 3, this is pretty much where you're at now. And these top 2 pieces of data, they're telling me how your foot is moving during the pedal stroke. So if I was to look at something like this, I'd say we're probably a centimetre too low. And as I bring the seat up, because it's on an angle, the seat will come back a bit. So it should improve the knee forward of foot as well. The main thing that I would say about leaving you in this position is that it really was very quad dominant and it has the risk at like doing more in the front of the knee and the tendons around the knee. In terms of economy and repeatability of efforts, which if you're racing or you just want to go on a longer ride, later on in a ride, I think it's really, you know, that inner thigh cramp, particularly, like it's a lot of overload on the quad.
So I'm about 3 weeks removed from the fit with Tom. Yeah, to sum up, the hip flexor tightness has pretty much
gone.
Tom certainly wasn't able to say that the reason I was feeling some of that pain was due to the position that I had put myself in, but I really hadn't changed anything else in my life.
I feel at one with the bike again. I feel comfortable, and I feel a lot less stress going out for a bike ride.
Okay, if I tried to retrofit the whole thing, right, knowing what the results were in the end, you could potentially argue that I would have got much closer to my original position if I had followed a heel system but kept my shoes on and had gone with a straight leg. If I'd run a straight leg from the saddle with my shoes on, then that probably would have put me very close. Every move that I made subsequently after that was bringing my saddle down and further forward, which was really moving me further and further away from my original position.
I realise there's a million holes in the way I've done this. The idea of someone searching for something on YouTube and eventually turning that into their bike fit is going to be rough and ready. Fitting it in between people around, fitting it in between work calls. I suppose that's the point of this.
Summing up the whole experience though, it is incredible how much information is out there. It's obvious that everyone on YouTube is very, very engaged in that content, being the most viewed content in the space. But I will say this, I really do believe that Cleat stuff is very, very valuable and very, very useful. Chapeau to those guys. I'll obviously link those below, but you've probably already seen those videos anyway. But I would argue that, look, if you've watched 3 or 4 bike fit videos already to try and set your position up, you're already going far enough down the rabbit hole that probably requires you to just go to a bike fitter. Look, the way I look at it is I probably wasted like 3 weeks, okay, not full time, but 3 weeks of riding, and all this time you set the bike up, you got to put the camera on, you got to do all this faff, all this stuff.
You would go to a bike fitter to avoid this. Why am I choosing to do this on 35-degree, 95% humidity day? Because this is the only time I could do it without the kids here.
And mentally it's quite draining because then as well, you're sort of out there going, oh, is this right, is that right? Go in, get a bike fit, takes 3 hours. Yes, it costs money, but then eventually you're just like, okay, I'm happy, move on, never have to worry about that again. I don't have to watch another stupid YouTube video about bike fitting. That was super fun to make. I enjoyed doing that process. If you did enjoy the whole thing, do make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll drop some links to some of the show stuff where we're talking about bits and pieces of this.
Oh, and if you want to know what the f this is on my face, subscribe to the channel, like this video. I will tell you in the future. It's something serious around here.
Alrighty guys, I'll catch you real soon.